In my journey through the world, over land and over sea, I see different cultures and different people's ways. I was born where the sun never sets and never rises. I was born where the heat is like a second skin. Àwọn kan lè jẹ, àwọn kan ò rí, àwọn kan wọṣọ àsìkò.
Àwọn kan sùn sábẹ́ gàdá, àwọn kan tó lè jọ bí iṣu.
Àwọn kan ń jọba, àwọn kan ń ṣẹrú.
Àwọn kan ń wo ibi Olódùmarè.
Ọmọdé òòjọ́ ń ṣaláìsí, àwọn kan ṣayé
Dàwa máa ń lọ, ọ̀rọ̀ ayé ṣòro. Ọ̀rọ̀ ayé ṣòro, ọ̀rọ̀ ayé ṣòro, ọ̀rọ̀ ayé màgẹ́ o. Ọ̀rọ̀ ayé màgẹ́ kò máa yé wa o.
When I went there, I spent 8 months. It's the longest I've ever stayed in Canada. The longest, 8 months. Chick magnet. I had no sex for 8 months. Nothing. I had no interest in women. I had nothing. You don't know. I had to go and work in factories. I worked 2 factories, 2 factory jobs. One was in the day, 3 to 11, 8 hours. The other one started at 11:15, 11 to 6 a.m. was in the next morning. And that's what I did the whole winter of 2001 in Canada. And that's when I organized all those songs on Tambalaji. While I was working in those factories, my candy factory job, the machine is going, I'm singing, I was composing songs to the movement of the machine, you know. And then we went and started recording, played my guitar, and then and then the voice comes in. Once I finished university, I became proper chick magnet. Me and I didn't used to have one girlfriend one time. No, it would be like if I was minimum, maybe I'll have 2 girlfriends at a go. Sometimes I'll have like 5 at a go. But I was young, 20 something. So for somebody coming from that kind of life, who regularly sex was important. I was a young man. It was important. So I now go 8 months without it. That is serious. So if you haven't made it abroad, you haven't really made it. And that is a lie. And that's one thing I want young people, young artists to understand. It's such a lie. One Nigerian fan is equal to one Canadian fan. But by 2006, we have sold 1 million copies.
What?
Yes, that we have receipts for.
You sold 1 million copies of Django. I mean, I find that easy to believe anyway.
So when we now finished that show, do you know this guy, Neil was his name? He called me and said, "What are you doing here? If you have sold 1 million copies in that country, why are you not in that country? What are you doing there? Why are you wasting your time in this way?" And I'm always talking to young people at my show that in this country that many people do not like, that people are running away from. There are people who are doing well there, who are finding gaps, who are finding opportunities. You have to open the eye. Life is a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I've always believed yours.
Have we had this conversation? I just had deja vu now. Have we had this?
We have. I don't think so. When you said 2011,
yeah,
was that 2011?
It was
14 years ago.
Yeah, it was 14 years ago.
Wow.
This show is proudly supported by FinServe Pro. Now, I always avoid using the word cheap because cheap sounds like, well, cheap. But FinServe Pro is so affordable, so efficient that it almost feels like you're getting too much for what you're paying. You know, the value that they give to you is 10 times over. Whether it's your returns, sorting out your deductions, or staying ahead of deadlines from the IRS, FinServe Pro helps you with your taxes on time, every time. So if you're an African who's living in the diaspora, especially in these United States, you need to visit www.finserve.pro. That's your #1 name in taxes in the diaspora. This show is also supported by cellphony.com. Look, let's be serious. If you're not selling anything online right now, a product, a course, a service, anything that can make you money, if you have no digital product, you're doing something wrong. Something needs to change. And I get it. the headache is where to start. How do you build a website? How do you set up a payment system? How do you structure the content itself? You're not a technical person. It feels overwhelming. I know all of that. And that is exactly where Selfony.com comes in. Selfony is your one-stop solution for launching anything online. Courses, coaching, programs, digital products, services, everything. Your website, done. Payment system, done. Course hosting, done. And all of it, front end, back end, all in one place. So visit www.selfony.com today. Extemporaneously, which means that I really didn't think about this before opening my mouth to talk. It's just that my guest is one of my favorite performers on the show. He's just one of my favorite guests. He now has the distinction of being one of the few people to have performed on the show and now as a guest for the second time. We spoke together for the first time in 2011. It's been 14 years and he's here now. And they call me Babyface. He's not aged a day. And he's just going to prove it to you now. He has legions of fans around the entire globe. It's amazing to have him here. It's beautiful Nubia on this one.
Thank you very much.
This is the Teju Babyface Show Deep Dive. This is the Deep Dive. Thank you for clearing that because my next question asks that question. Actually, that's my next question. I don't know which is the biggest of the three. Is it how do you do? Is it what a feeling? Or is it 7 lives? I don't know.
Every month, YouTube sends us, I'm sure you must get this kind of accounting.
Yes.
It's just like our monthly, whatever, with the accounting of how much you've made from them. And it's those three. Every month is those three. Most watched videos, so most listened to is those three. But 7 lives is always the top. Yes, it's always the top.
It's funny because my own favorite, and this is hardly the case for me. I usually don't like the popular songs in any album. Whatever song is the most popular one is the one that I won't like, which is why as a fella head, I don't like, I mean, I love all of the songs, but
you're not the water, hear me. Water, Abby.
Yes, know. So, if I play what I played full, if you hear me play a popular fella track, I will play it full, which most people won't recognize because they only
know the
vocals.
Singing,
But my top fella songs are the ones most people, if they are not fella heads, do not know. For example, I could ask you now watching, you're thinking I'm just joking. You probably don't know Not Possible. You've probably never heard Not Possible.
Most people will know that.
Yeah, so it's unusual for me for my favorite song on an album to be the hit song.
The hit, yeah.
But I think for Jangbala Jubumai, I just can't get past for many
people,
I can't get past.
For many people, because music hits you in different ways. There are some who will tell you what a feeling is their favorite, and there are people who are like you too, many of our fans, who actually prefer the newer songs, who come to my show and say, you sing us the newer ones. And I say, but see, if there's 1,000 of us in this place, I have to pander to the majority in a way, because, and if they are screaming at me, what a feeling, they're already screaming it too. What a feeling, they won't even let me sing. So I have to sing it for them, But it depends on how each individual, I can't tell you what is my favorite song because all the songs are the same to me. But I do know that I've met people.
Yeah, your kids.
Yes. But I've met people who will say, his economy is on the way. It's the best song. No, it's your best ever. Some people will say it's your best song ever. So I have
a friend who is crazy about Eba and Bondo.
So it depends on, but in terms of the statistics, 7 Lives is in terms of what most people listen to. Which one is in terms of the records that we have? 7 Lives is like the top.
And you wrote Oguro Lojo as just a favor for some friends.
Yes.
How do you do? You wrote as a favor for?
Yes, that was with my friends at Radio Lagos. I never know whether to call them a QFM. I think they're two different stations now. In those days, I didn't see them as 2 different stations. I used to just go there and hang out. I had done my first 2 albums. Yeah. So, this is my 3rd album, right? I had done my first 2 albums. And I was still working as a vet in those days, So I would drive my car, my official car after work, because I was trying to do this music, and I was still doing it part time. And if I found anybody who was in that world, I wanted to just take so that I would feel like I'm part of this music business. So I would sometimes I'll just drive to Eko FM because I had a lot of young guys who were like my age group, who are like DJs there, and I just go and hang out with them. Sometimes I'll be in the studio picking albums for them. In actual fact, I had records that I'll carry with me for them to play. I'll tell them, on your show, you should be playing this kind of people. Rare records that they didn't have, I'll have them. And I'll bring them in. So I used to spend time with them. So I became very close friends with some of these guys. Many of them are the ones who had helped us to kind of play those first 2 albums just to get it song.
Yeah.
So one day we were just hanging out like that. I'll come there. I had money. I was a young vet, but I had a job. I was a manager in a company, and I would come and treat everybody to like Coca-Cola or whatever, treat them to drinks and snacks, and we would just be hanging out. And then this guy just said, we're starting this early morning program now, and we need a song to use. Actually, we need songs. One in Yoruba, one in English. Nubia, you're a songwriter. You can do this for us now. You can do it. I know you can do it. Other people have said they're going to try. So I said, well, we'll think about it. I do not like write on demand. I do not like, as I'm sitting in front of you, if you say, Nubia, can you do a song that I can use on my Teju Babyface show, like a sick tune? I say, no, I do not like it, because you're putting me on a spot. I don't do music like the way somebody says he's a carpenter. He's learned a job as a craft and he can put it together. He knows he can do it.
Yeah.
For me, songwriting is not like that. I prefer when the inspiration comes. If a song comes to me, that's how I don't like when I go looking for it and I have to force it like a craft. I don't. But you know what's happened to me? Every time I've had to do it, it has become a hit song.
Every time you've had to force yourself to write a song.
It's funny, every time. So Who Olojo became a hit. Ikoko Akufo is one of our biggest hits. That one too. I did it for a movie. For Mr. Tunde Kelani's Mainframe Productions, for his movie called The Narrow Path. I wrote that song for that. And even that, when it asked me, I was like, no, I can't say no to this man now. But I don't like this kind of. So when I went to that day, I was like, should I just tell these guys that I don't like this kind of work? I cannot do it. But what liberated me was the fact that he had said other people had also been given this challenge. So if I didn't come up with anything, it was fine. I carried my guitar and I started just playing around. The thing is, had already been in my head. Because I told you I always compose melodies. So it's there in your head. Good morning. I already had melodies. There were melodies I was going to use for others. So I sat down and I just decided I'm going to turn this into. So I wrote an English song. Good morning, sweet Lagos. Do you do? Good morning, dear Lagos. We've got some work to do. It was supposed to be played on Monday mornings to wake Lagosians up, like at 5 a.m. or something. Then I wrote the Yoruba one. So I played them on the guitar. I took it to the station. They had a recording studio. I said, I've got these 2 songs for you. They took me to the recording studio. I recorded the 2 songs for them. I don't know if they ever played them. The gentleman who coordinated it at the time, so Commissioner, who now lives in the UK. So I asked him, I was saying, he interviewed me just like you some time ago, because he still does like podcasts now. So I said, I don't think you said, no, we used it to. I said, okay, well, I never heard it, that you guys used it, But when I was going to record Jambala Jubu, 2 years later, I decided I will merge the 2 songs and make it one song. And that's what I did.
Awesome.
And then it was the first song we recorded in the studio. Let me tell you, there's something you know it yourself. When things are going to be right for you, you know it. 7 Lives, my first album, 1997. I had big dreams. It was going to be a hit. One man, mommy, they will know that somebody has arrived. That somebody is here who can write songs. All these people who, because you have this arrogance about you, like you cooking when people are then the star. They will know that the anyone call somebody. We made 1,000 cassettes. We never made another one after that. That was we managed to sell the 1,000. When I say sell, I mean, we pushed it out. We didn't get money for most of it. we got it out, you know. Then after that, 1999, we did Voice from Heaven, second album. That was one that gave us Baba Eledumare. Jọ̀wọ́ Baba Eledumare, wá súre fún wa. Jọ̀wọ́ Baba Eledumare, wá gbọ́ o. We did a very nice video for it with me frolicking on the beach with some babes and things. That one went viral on TV. Even in Nigeria, the TV stations were all playing it. It made Beautiful Nubia popular. That was the first time that I would not be going on the streets and somebody would say, Beautiful Nubia. They're knowing me now. But I still wasn't, we still weren't selling these albums. I still wasn't the success that I wanted to be. So Jambala Jubu was the one. And I always told myself, the album I want to make, I have not made it yet. See, 7 Lives and Voice from Heaven, those 2 albums, we made them in digital studios where we were using computers to create the guitar, create this. For Voice from Heaven, I brought in some live instruments like guitar, like saxophone and stuff, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't a real band playing. Jambala Jubu was the first time and I had a real band. And what happened was between Voice from Heaven, which we released in 1999, and Jambala Jubu, I had formed a band. 14-man band. And from 1999, we were rehearsing. The boys will ask me, Doctor, what are we rehearsing for? Say, we just wait and see. We rehearsed once or twice a week. And I started teaching them all those songs, playing my guitar with them. In those other albums, I didn't play any instrument. So in this album, and when I sat, my first year, this is a story I always tell people. My first stint in Canada, when I went to Canada, that's 2001. When I went there, I spent 8 months. It's the longest I've ever stayed in Canada. The longest, 8 months. And I was there. Chick magnet. I had no sex for 8 months. I had nothing. I had no interest in women. I had nothing. You don't know. I went back to what it meant to be the child. I let go of everything. I stopped being Dr. Akindolu, that important man. When I had that job, I had a driver. My life was good. I had money, millions in the bank for a young man at that time. You know, I let all that go. I became just a regular Joe. I had to go and work in factories. I worked 2 factories, 2 factory jobs. One was in the day, 3 to 11, 8 hours. The other one started at 11:15, 11 to 6 a.m. was in the next morning. And that's what I did the whole winter of 2001 in Canada. And that's when I organized all those songs on Jambala Jubu. While I was working in those factories, my candy factory job, the machine is going, I'm singing, I was composing songs to the movement of the machine, you know. And I told myself one morning, I wrote it, I still have that paper. I said, Jambala Jubu, this album will make my name. I wrote it because so when the moment comes, you will know. I knew this is special. This is going to be the one. So the day we went to the studio, first song we are going to read. The engineer said, which is the first one? The first one is called Owu Olojo, and it's going to be a hit. And I said it to the studio. And then we went and started recording. Play my guitar. And then, and then the voice comes in. And it happened. And so it did.
You know, of all these many wonderful things that you've said, one thing stuck above all for me that I took in my mind. You know, that's of all these many wonderful things you've said, you didn't have sex for 8 months. Why? What happened?
It was why I say it is because it was important to me at the time.
Yeah,
I was from between the ages of my age and my you know, we were brought up in a way that you focus very hard on your work, and you always thought work first. You don't mix pleasure with. So, but once I finished university, I became proper chick magnet too. Me, I didn't used to have one girlfriend one time. No, it would be like if I was minimum, maybe I'll have 2 girlfriends at a go. Sometimes I'll have like 5 at a go. But I was young, 20 something. So for somebody coming from that kind of life, who regularly sex was important. I was a young man. It was important. To now go 8 months without it, that is serious. So for those who don't have high libido, who are not, because I have people like that who are not driven by that kind of thing. So that's nothing. For them, that would not be like, you don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
But for me, at that point, at that time in my life, to not have sex for a week was a lot. So those 8 months, it was equal. So just to show you how important this work was to me. How important, because it was like my last chance. Don't forget, in 2001, I was now 30. I was 30. It was 1968 in the one me. Here, calculate. I was 32. I'll be 30 in my.
I don't know. I usually do it easy way. I'll do 68 to 78 1 to 88 2 to 98 3, 2008 4. So if we now take 98 was 3, 2009, 31, 2000. Let's say you're about 32.
What was your grade in mathematics? Let's say you're about,
no, I was terrible. No, I was terrible. I got through WAEC with what we used to call Let My People Go.
Oh, Let My People Go.
But I made no bones about that. I was the only student in the history of my school, Federal Government College, Ogbomoso, to have gotten an A1 in literature and English when I took WAEC. In fact, I will never forget that Mr. Sonyaolu, whom we call Skid, who was our English teacher, told me when I told him one day after lecture that I'm going to get an A1 in literature. He laughed. He said, you cannot get an A1 he said, it's not only in this school. They don't give A1s in literature.
Wow.
I said, why? He said, because it is completely subjective.
Wow.
He said, unlike the sciences and English, that there's a distance. In literature, you have to write like you're making a case.
Yes.
And nobody makes a case enough to get an A1. I said, I'll get an A1. He said, okay, we'll see.
Wow.
Up until that point, I was the only student in the history of Federal Government College of Ogbomoso to get an A1 in literature and English. So I know my strengths.
Wow.
Math.
No, but this was an issue for me, and it's still an issue for me up to now. That, for example, when I finished secondary school, some of our best students, you know why they never went anywhere? Because they didn't have credits in English and math. And I think it's a disaster for this country. The person who was our best, Olamalomba, to explain economics to us. He understood economic theory. He understood he understood it. Economics to me at the time was like, what is all this? Why are you, if you want to say something, just say it. Why are you going on about to say it? But he understood it, and it was just, and it was just like, he had A1 in economics, but he had F9 in English, and he had F9 in math. It took him 7 years to pass those two things, to be able to go to higher school. By then, the desire, so you just look at this country, you think, we need better, and we are still dealing with it up to now. I don't think getting the credit in English should matter for you to go to higher school. I don't think so. I don't agree. I don't think so. And I don't think getting the credit in math is, because math, like you said, it's what we need to teach people is numeracy and literacy. When somebody is literate and they can do what you just did now, calculate things, that's all they need. I don't think we should make it that every secondary school student must come out with a credit in math or even with a pass. You are setting the standards.
We all think we're all different. I think different. Yeah. The way, it's funny. I can't explain to people the way I see figures in my head. In my head, I actually see figures and they don't make sense.
You are more like an applied math person.
Yeah, 1 to 10 in my head is structured in a certain way in my head. 1 to 10 goes like 1, then it climbs down to 10, then it levels out at 11, then climbs down at 15, then begins to rise again. Right? I have a weird, so figures are not mine. It's never been, right? But I'm well-rounded enough to be able to pass what was necessary. That's how I was lucky. So I got C6 in math. Let my people go. One of the few C's I got. I was A1 in literature. I was A3 in English. I was A in economics. I was like, if they had just allowed me, it was my parents that forced me to go to science class, because the thinking of my father was, if you do science, you'll be able to do anything.
Yes.
If you do arts, you're limited.
That side was sold to all of us, yes.
That was one of, my father made few mistakes, but I think that was the few ones. But if my father had allowed me to go to the arts that I wanted to.
Yes. Wow.
Whereas I was a middling student in science class, I would have murdered them.
Yeah.
I used 2 weeks in the arts class before they bundled me. Because my uncle, who was a teacher, went to report at home. That one no allow lost science you. Auntie lolo, color science you. So they sent the driver, rich kid that I was. They sent the driver all the way to Ogbomoso to pick me and bring me home. To rearrange
your head. To rearrange your head for you.
So I now went back to science lab, where I struggled all through my senior secondary school years, where I would have been coasting.
Wow.
Anyway, so back to the so this was your last chance at early 30s.
So I was like 33.
Yeah.
2001, 68 to 2001, I was like 33. So you've tried everything. You've done things. The years that people have always said, The years that I could have spent doing music, I was in school studying to be a vet doctor. And then maybe those other years that I was working as a vet for 8 years, I was working as a vet. Oh, you could have done. So now you're in your 30s and you're thinking, this is your last drop of it. You have to give it everything. And so that's what I did. It's like, I like to tell people, it's like when you're washing with, we all used to have washing machines now, but in the days when we used to wash, it's like when you squeeze the thing, you have to squeeze yourself now and take every ounce of liquid out of yourself now. This is it. And so that was what I was going through. And to do that, you had to deny yourself. So no, food was secondary. My head, it wasn't that I did it on purpose. It was just the way my head was working at the time. I totally removed everything, all my importance. All this talking. I removed everything. I had to go back to the child I was at the age of 9 when I discovered that I had a gift. It was at the age of 9 I knew I had a gift for songwriting. And that was when I started thinking, I have a gift. I'm special. This is special. I could use this to become something. And I could do that. I could think like that because there were people who I liked, who were already making music at the time. There were people like the Jadu sisters, who my mother loved, and we used to play their music. And I said, yeah, so there are people who are using this kind of talent to become someone important. So I could do this. There was someone like Tunji Yelano, whose music, I mean,
his music that I love are the ones you might imagine are the
So I knew that there are people like that who are making careers. If you hadn't seen them, maybe I'd have thought it's not important. But because I knew there were people who were musicians who had careers, So I mean, the fella you are talking about, I just talked about now, fella was very popular. I wasn't a big fan of his music, But what I liked about fella was the attitude. When I was a child, they used to call me Fela. Because I used to enjoy going around. Because we saw these pictures with his shirt all that, unbuttoned. Now he wanted to be like that, and So I knew there were people like that who had careers. So I thought, well, so I have a gift, so I could become a musician. So from that age, I had this dream to become a musician. So then, I'm 33 now, and I haven't really done, even though I'd done 2 albums, I knew I hadn't done what I wanted to really do. So this was like, for me, the moment you had to do it. So all that became unimportant. They became secondary. Food, sex, material things. No, until I got something, until that I broke through that thing and saw the light. And once the songs started to work well together, you could start to see Baba Mimo, and yes, it's coming now. I come all the way from Africa. All those songs, I was just putting them together. So I've got the album. I've got the feel I want. I've got the vibe. This one will make it.
Okay, thank you for watching the show thus far. Okay, but what you've just watched, as is obvious, is just an excerpt of the full episode. If you enjoy that, now imagine how much more powerful the full conversation, the entire episode is. Now look, so here's the question. How do we separate those who love us from those who truly love us? I mean, you've subscribed and we bless you for that. God bless you for that. That means that you love us. But if you truly love what we're doing, then you need to join the channel. That's different from subscribing. If you look below this video, you'll see a button where it says join, or you see the word more, where under the video description, where the video description runs out, you'll see more. Click on more, and the very first thing you will see underneath this video is the link that allows you to join the channel. When you join, you get full access to every complete episode, not just the highlights like you've watched, not just the teasers, but the main thing. So if you truly love what we do here, please join the channel, support the work, and we'll see you on the inside. As we like to say, we'll see you in the inner circle. Thank you again. Now join and enjoy the full show.